Well, good afternoon, Patriots. Thank you for joining Live Border News. This is Jonathan Alexander, and today I have Daniel Butis, who's running for U.S. House of Representatives. For U.S. Congress, my mistake. And we will be right with you guys here in one second.
I ain't nothing but a simple man. Call me redneck or reckon that I am, but there's things going on that make me mad to the core. I work like a dog to make ends meet. Got crooked politicians and crime in the street, and I'm madder than hell, and I ain't gonna take it no more. They tell our kids just say no. A panty-waist judge lets a drug dealer go, slaps him on the wrist and turns him back on the town. But if I had my way with those selling dope, take a big tall tree and a short piece of rope, hang them up high, let them swing till the sun goes down. Hell, you know what's wrong with the world today? People done go put their Bibles away, living off the law of the jungle, not the law of the land. The good book says it, so I know it's true. Eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You better watch where you're going. Remember where you've been. That's the way I see it. I'm a simple. I'm the kind of guy that wouldn't harm a mouse. If I catch somebody breaking in my house, I got a 20 shotgun waiting.
You can watch it live.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys joining in. Daniel Butis, appreciate you going down to the border with me and my team. You're a very righteous man to be down there and wanting to end up for Jim Chilton and his ranch as well at the Chilton Ranch. Um, can you tell my viewing audience what you witnessed down there?
I found that things that I didn't even know existed, sections of the wall that had been removed. We're talking, what about 4 tons of steel and concrete, just literally cut off, and it would have taken a crane to pick it up and move it 50 foot from the wall over onto our side of the country. So it left me to know only one thing: our government destroyed our private property, which we, the taxpayers, paid for to assist the illegal coming into our country. I never dreamed I would have seen something like that, but I need to go down to the border and see that for myself. It was just by coincidence that some of the people that my constituents that I'm running to represent had asked me if I'd spoke to Mr. Chilton, and I told him no, I hadn't. And like 2 days later, I met Jonathan, and he called and invited me to go up there with him. And I said, you know what? That's funny you should say that, because I've been asked if I'd spoken to Mr. Chilton, and I got that opportunity. He's a great man that have to live the way he's living.
Oh, exactly. You take a look at what he's been going through down there. Just the amount of illegals crossing in on his land. They're putting in the humanitarian aid. Them putting up camps right there on the edge of his ranch right there down by, because his ranch goes clean to the border, as you've witnessed. I mean, what we're seeing here, Border Patrol sitting there telling them we can't do anything about all these illegals on your ranch. Our hands are tied. How can their hands be tied? They're supposed to be Border Patrol protecting our borders. You would think that would protect Mr. Chilton right there with his ranch being right there to the border itself. What we witnessed, he's not receiving any kind of support from the government, let alone the Pima County Sheriff down is a corrupt SOB, in my opinion, anyways. And you know, with you running for Congress, for U.S. Congress, what would you do for the ranchers out there like Mr. Chilton and what he's going through?
Well, I can tell you this. I'd want to know what's going on in the section of Pima County because I have been from one end. I have now been across the entire state border from Bisbee, which is this is the area I'm running to represent, from Bisbee all the way to Yuma. The only section that I truly seen some serious issues, I mean, Lukeville had some sections that were removed, but the only area I literally saw sections removed at different areas removed by our own government was in Pima County. So I'd have to agree with you, Jonathan. There's something corrupt about the government there in Pima County that's allowing this to happen. And it's kind of funny that Grajava's family has a lot of influence within Pima County. So
And Grajava, he is the acting U.S. congressman right now, and he supports this this invasion. I mean, I've been to his website, and what I'm reading on his website and the different things I've seen, it's just like unbelievable. I mean, you took an oath to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and here's this guy encouraging these illegals to flood into our country. Why is it you think the Arizona people would even vote such a corrupt man into office?
well, to be honest, I have been I just got done speaking about this with my mother, and I'm going to be completely honest. The Democratic base, as far as the people, actually care and want to help people. They have big hearts. They want to do what's right. Sadly, I'm manipulated by their own leaders, and they've been told what they're doing is right, and none of them have gone down to see what I. And as you saw, we took my dad down there Sunday. He's been a Democrat his entire life. He's switched. He's no longer a Democrat. As a matter of fact, what he saw, and you heard him, he said, I'm getting sick to my stomach. It's the children of value. And my dad, he's an intelligent man, and he put two and two together and realized that there are some of those children were not with parents. I mean, it was pretty obvious. So, and
But I'm going along the border road, and where find the little dead babies that these migrants leave behind right on the border road. They found them off in the fields up there. Even dead people that are trafficked. Because they can't keep up with the coyotes that are running them. For human trafficking. Next thing you know, they're left behind. No water, no nothing, and they find them dead out there in the border. We've witnessed it ourselves. The just amount of corruption that we see going on with border patrolling. I mean, don't get me wrong. I keep saying I love a lot of our border patrol guys out there. They're doing the right thing. To the best that they can. But you've got a lot of corrupt son of a bitches out there as well. Excuse my language. Man, we got a lot of corrupt border patrol out there as well that is actually working directly with the cartel. I mean, and it's going to take somebody that's going to be willing to come into office, that's going to want to see investigations. I think you're the man for the job. I know you're a fighter. You've been out here on the trail with me for a week straight. And, today we're over in Yuma, Arizona, for those of you guys watch. And we just got done covering the border down here in Yuma as well. Just everything that we're seeing all across Arizona is affecting the rest of the station at the same time. And what are you going to bring to the table to put a stop to this kind of what are you going to try to get Congress to do once you become, get over into Washington?
well, I was uh, I was born and raised. This is my home. I was born here in 1966. Lived here all my life. I care about the people of Arizona, and the first thing I'll do is get our government to enforce the laws. If we enforce the laws that are on the books, this would be over. Second thing we need to do is declare the cartel a terrorist organization. That needs to be done, and anybody that's working with them needs to be sought out and dealt with accordingly. And that's going to be a hard one to do because I'm seeing and witnessing what all of America is seeing and witnessing. That there are people all over this country that are going just their heads against the wall, saying, "What are they doing to us?" I mean, which tells me that there's a lot of people in our government that are deep in with the terrorists that are right now bringing drugs across our border, trafficking children and women across our border, and endanger the people of the United States. And these are supposed to be people representing us, protecting us, and not doing their jobs. So we need to get in there, and that's going to take. I'm one man. That means I'm 1 in 400, and I have to believe that there are other congressmen that are either in there or in there this year that is going to be standing beside me and fighting with me for the people of Arizona and the United States. And it's going to take men with heart that are willing to go in and and do this. So
we went over to that area that they had staged down there where the humanitarian aids were bringing in all these people right over on Chilton's land. They were trying to act like we needed to leave, leave what his ranch. I mean, but they were. I mean, you seen the people's attitudes, and they act like we're their enemy. You know, some of the guys that were looking at us that came over from Africa and elsewhere, guys gave me a couple pretty evil looks like they wanted me dead. And then the one guy had some choice words to say, this off. And it's just like, why, in your opinion, do you think our Arizona senators and congressmen are not sitting down there standing up for the Chilton Ranch right there? I mean, they see the invasion. He's an 84-year-old rancher, a third, fourth generation rancher. Um, he's got the cartel going through his property. He's received numerous death threats. His ranch hands have received death threats. As we witnessed while we were there, they have cut his water lines all across the ranch right there that is used for watering his cattle. Why would our Arizona politicians right now insisting upon help for Mr. Jim Chilton?
well, that's a really good question. That's a really good man. I spent the weekend with him and you. I can't even comprehend nobody helping this man. Um, I watched Grijalva stand up and just got done a few days ago talking about how he stands with the immigrants. Don't deport our loved ones. Nobody's even talking about deporting his loved ones. I want to know why he's not over at Mr. Chilton's right now saying, "Mr. Chilton, I don't work for these people coming across our borders. I work for you. And I want to know what I can do to help you." But Grijalva's never going to do this. He's just not working for Mr. Chilton or anybody else in Arizona. He's working for people in Mexico. And that should tell you something right there.
Well, we could call him Mr. Cartel Man, kind of like I got Governor Hobbs as Cartel Hobbs. That caller. When they turned around and declared the cartel as being terrorist, and You look at Hobbs, what she did, she vetoed that bill. I'm sure you're aware, just completely vetoed it. Call them what they are. They're terrorists.
Oh yeah, no. I'm uh, I'm just really shocked that more people don't see what's going on. Um, the bottom line is these people that are coming here, and we can get off of everything else. The people know that these people are paying a lot of money to this country. And most of these people that are coming here don't have $30,000, $60,000 to pay to the cartel that is getting them across Mexico over the ocean to get to to get to America. So they're fronting this money. So they're going to come here and do something for the cartel to pay them back for whatever the cartel's doing for them. And now it just takes common sense to know this. So basically, Democrats are voting for politicians that are creating slaves in our own country because these people that are coming here are now indentured servants to the cartel, aided and embedded by the whoever's voting for these politicians that are supporting the open borders. I just put it that way. I don't really want to accuse anybody of stuff, but this is where it's just the way everything looks. It's pretty obvious, but we do know that these are indentured servants being created by people voting for these politicians.
Well, I made some enemies even on the Republican side of the aisle because lately I've been beaten up on both sides of the aisle. I mean, both sides are responsible for what's happening in our country. Both sides right now are all talking about the border, da da da. It's election time. That's what they're wanting is to be elected. None of them's going to the border, you know, but they're all talking about we're going to stop to this invasion. You know, the second they get back in office, back in power, they go right back into la time. What made you decide to run for United States Congress?
I just I'm a painting contractor and not a politician. And I was going to run 2 years ago, and then another guy stepped up, and I thought, you know what, let him run because I'd rather it was him than me because I'm not wanting to put myself up in front and in the firing squad. But there was no one else running that I believed had a chance against Grahava, and I decided that it needs to be me. I'm going to have to do this because I need someone has to do something to the people of Arizona from what's happening right now, this invasion, and someone needs to step. Let me tell you, I gotta point this out. We're giving our vets and our home $400,000. They've set it aside. Pima County has set it aside, $400,000 to take care of our homeless and our vets. Okay. They've set aside almost $20 million to house illegals coming across our border.
Yeah.
So, that's it's things like that that have gotten me so angry that I don't care whether they insult me, attack me, they do whatever they do. Someone needs to stand up who's willing to fight. Boy, I've spent my life fighting the system, and I will die fighting the system. That's who I am.
Yeah. Right. And I'll fight right beside you. I mean, we're just the amount of corruption that we have been witnessing, just all across the country. You shared a story with me about you're spending, I think it was 10 years in prison. I'd like for you to talk to the viewing audience about this. Here's a man that was wrongly convicted, spent 10 years in prison without ever being convicted. Kind of like your January 6th people. We've got these people that are sitting behind and locked away in a prison to this day, years after the fact, still never convicted, you know? And hearing your story, I want the American people to hear the story as well, because I'll tell you what, it angered me and made me realize just how corrupt of a government we really do have, you know. And by all means, please share with the people out here.
Yeah. All right. Well, in 1994, well, let's go back to 1992. In 1992, a judge made a ruling that was rendered with a charge, without a trial, without without any due process whatsoever. And I was put on probation. I was young. I didn't know anything about the law. Really didn't know much about the Constitution. And I went on the probation. And then in 1994, they violated me for drinking on probation. At that point, the judge put me in prison. He violated the probation, sent me to prison for 10 years. He said, he announced at the courtroom, I'm not sending you to prison, Mr. because you're a criminal. I know you're not a criminal. I'm sending you to prison because you're an alcoholic. And so I went to prison. And when I got to prison, they put me in a maximum security prison. And just so y'all understand, this was over one joint, 1.3 grams of marijuana, not possessed for sale. And I get on this yard, and I had been a catechism teacher prior to that. I had lived a pretty good life prior to that. And I found myself in a maximum security prison. So I went to DOC and I asked them, my CO3, which is a counselor, why I was on that yard. And he said, well, you entered a plea agreement. I said, I didn't enter a plea agreement. So I gave him all my transcripts. He went through it. And a few days later, he calls me in the office. He goes, he asked me if the transcripts were for real. I said, and he goes, well, if these transcripts are for real, you don't have a conviction. I said, what do you mean? And he goes, don't you know what due process of law is? And I shook my head, no. And he said, you have a right to be charged. And there's a whole process they got to go through before you get here. And you don't even have an accusation for this crime. So anyways, I spent the 30 years fighting, almost 30 years. And every time I went to the courts with it, I said I was sent to prison without a conviction. Courts came back and completely ignored my issue and said I was complaining about being sentenced to a lesser. I, I and finally I gave up. I was tired, and in 2017 I went down to get my rights restored. I wanted to be able to go hunt with my dad. So I had the courts, and I asked the courts what my date of conviction was. Okay, and it took about 3 days before they got my file up. The clerk, now mind you, I've been telling the courts for years I didn't have a conviction. Some of the greatest minds in Arizona, okay, I've been telling them for 30 years, no conviction. It took the clerk in records less than 2 minutes going through my file to look up at me and tell me I didn't have a conviction. I asked her what a conviction looked like. She showed me a form of verdict. She said there'd be one of these or a plea agreement, and there's neither. You do not have a conviction for that charge in this file. So then I began fighting again, and finally, the state conceded that I was sent to prison, or that I was convicted of a crime I did not commit. Then the Judge Bergen, ruled that it appears Mr. Buteris was convicted of a crime he didn't commit. And then he did something amazing. He made a second finding. He said the court further finds that the conviction of September 1992 is void. Not voidable, void. There was not a conviction in 1992. Now you figure, do the math. There wasn't a conviction in 1992 and 1994 when they took me to my home. They took me from the mother of my children, took my vehicles, locked away in prison. It was kidnapping. Then for 10 years, they held me hostage and refused to release me till I paid my ransom. And I paid that ransom in full. I paid a debt to society I didn't owe. It's been quite a battle, and it made me who I am because I'm strong enough to move on. And that's probably a lot to do with why I'm the guy that could fight for the people of America and Arizona, because I got a big heart, and and I know what the corruption is, and I've faced it for decades. So I know what the good old boys are all about, and that's what we got jumping off in our government. We have a bunch of good old boys, and they need to be put in check.
I couldn't agree with you more. And just like with what we're seeing with January 6th as well, good old boy club. As you got feds sitting there getting them all to just come on in out there in Washington D.C. and then wanting to charge them for what for them assisting and allowing them to come on in. It's like inviting you into your house, and then you go into your house. Next thing you know, you're charged with kinds of crimes and sent off to prison. But yet, when you listen to the left side of the aisle, that they think we're, all the patriots out here across America was nothing but pretty much terrorists and wanting to go in there and hang them all. So,
You got it right. Our systems is collapsing. Our justice system has some things that needs to be worked out and fixed, and a lot of that has to do with people scratching each other's backs. And these people are employed by we the people. We elect these people. We pay these people. They work for us, but they're not doing what they've taken oaths to do. They've sworn to protect the Constitution of the United States. They've sworn to be non-biased, and I'm not seeing that. I mean, I'm just not seeing that. Are you?
only kind of bad thing I see out there is when I'm out there reporting and they all want to shut me up. Don't like to hear the truth.
Yeah.
None of them like it. But that's both sides of the aisle right now are kind of trying to beat up on me at this point because I'm beating up on everybody. But I hold these politicians on both sides of the aisle for this for what's happening in our country. Because both sides sit there and play their little negotiation games, line their pockets with money, or whatever they're doing out there. But none of them's getting the damn job done, getting our borders sealed up, and putting a stop to this kind of an invasion of borders. Let alone do they give a shit about the American people? What they give a shit about is lining their pockets and making sure they're well funded. That's what they care about. And yeah, I 100% agree. It's going to take people like you that have walked the walk, that's gone through that you've been through, to be wrongfully put away and incarcerated for 10 years of your life. I'll say it. To you, federal government out there, that's how I feel about it for what they've done to you. Because you know what? You're a hell of a good man. And I don't just hang out with anybody. You've been part of this team out here with me and for the last 7 days. And you 100% have my respect. So I'd like to introduce your lovely wife over here. Why don't you come on over here? We're going to introduce you real quick. She's a little camera shy, but this is his lovely wife. You want to introduce yourself to America?
Hi, I'm Paula Gutierrez.
So his wife 100% supports what he's been doing out here in the field. She has gotten pretty worried about him being out exposed around the cartel with me and my team. But you know what? It takes men like your husband that will walk the walk, that goes down to the front lines and sees it for themselves and want to make change. You know, politicians go down there every day. They go, "Oh yeah, I've been down to the border wall." They down there, take a quick picture at the border wall, and they're right back out of there. Because I've got friends with Border Patrol down there in the Sassamy, or even that said that's exactly what they did. You know, they're on the way down to the border wall. They'll dispatch ahead from the checkpoint up there in between 3 points and Sassamy. Right when they see them coming through, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, you got a senator coming on down." Next thing you know, down below turns around and says, "Yep, yep, he was there a whole 5 minutes." Turned around and drove right back out of here.
I can tell you that he's had his eyes open, and he have fear. I'm sure he did. I know you do every day. I sat at home, and when you lost satellite or whatever where you couldn't call, I sat there extremely worried and in fear. And then when he came back and said, "I'm going back there again to tomorrow," and I'm like, "Oh," at first I said, "Oh, maybe I'll go," and then as I watched the videos keep streaming to me from you guys, there I don't want to die, and people are dying down there. I mean, this is so bad. But I'm going to do a slight little plug here because I respect you, Jonathan. Since I've met you in the last 3 days, I respect what you're doing for this country. So people out there, you need to know this man is doing all of this on his own money. He has worked his whole life and his savings and his home. He's put him up to do this for you. Start donating to him. Make this happen for him because he is doing it for you. Okay. So I know he's not the kind of guy to ask for money. Give him some money. Help him.
For us, it's all about God, family, and country.
Yep.
You know, I'm in this to make money.
No,
I bet,
just need
I,
money to do it.
you know, I put out there, people want to make a donation, they're welcome to do it, but I don't go around and beg for money from anybody.
We know gas ain't cheap.
Yeah, but the most important part to me though is making sure the American people do get to see the truth of what's happening out here and around the country.
And to say something about that, Arizona is lying. The government here is lying to us. Okay, you don't see it. You don't see it because they're hiding it. When we're coming out to here to Yuma, we've videoed a bus. These buses are they're every hour, okay, and they're coming from every port, and they're taking them to Tucson, and they're hiding them in buildings, and then uh, they're giving them money, okay. The amount, who knows it? We've heard 5,000, we've heard 3, we heard 9,000 in Chicago to give them houses. They're paying for hotel rooms for them. Our homeless and our vets are freezing on the streets and starving. They are feeding them. They're giving them clothes. They're giving them medical. Okay. How many people out there do not have medical? Okay. And now you got to pay for them. I just watched while listening to this. They just had an out of measles in one of our states, something that we eradicated. And it's now here because of this. Okay. We got wars starting because of this administration. This is, if we do not stand up right now, America, we're going to lose our country. We're going to lose our country. So we have to stand up and fight back.
You guys are going to be a part of our comp we're going to be doing down here, right, right here in Yuma. It's going to be here in February 3rd, and it's going to be going all across America, coming right on in. It's the time for America to make sure our House, Senate, and Congress understands our borders are open because obviously they're all too damn blind to understand what the hell is even happening.
And we patriots can do it peacefully and with pride, and we can march across America with our American flags and show up people we love this country. So get up and make sure you get on this convoy. This is going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right, Daniel, you're back in the hot seat, buddy. So, anyways, just want to thank you for being out here with me and the team. And you're welcome anytime to be out there with us. And I appreciate what you're wanting to do with us with Ranch and helping him. and we're going to be down there getting his water lines repaired that the cartel has destroyed. And just we're going to be offering security for him as well. No rancher would have to live in fear for their lives on a daily basis the way this man does. And a lot of people say, well, why doesn't he just sell? Well, I don't know. For me, surrender is not an option. So, from what I see out of Jim Chilton, surrender is not an option for him either.
Jim Chilton said it straight up. He said, all I want to do is ranch. 84 years old, and all that man wants to do is keep working every day. And he doesn't want to be in court suing because the EPA found some kind of fish from Mexico in his pond. I learned a lot from Mr. Chilton, a lot of things, and realize what they have to go through. And then after having to deal with our own government over a fish that kind of came up river from Mexico, is what he said, the chum fish. Yeah, when it flooded, a chum fish came up river. They found it, and they took him to court to stop him from ranching because they don't want him to ranch. And every time he turns around, there's EPA suing him for something else. He spends most of his time fighting our government just so he can do the job he loves, which is feed America. And now he's got to fight the cartel because our government can't even protect him.
Not to mention, now all of a sudden he's got some that decided to want to migrate on his property. Now they're trying to take his ranch because of that. Say they got to protect the bird. You know, this is a rancher that's been there for years, and they want him gone. And honestly, I got a feeling that's probably why they're allowing the cartel and all these people to go in and make death threats, the whole shebang, encouraging the humanitarian aids to flood his property with these temporary camps in all over his damn land. Personally, from what I'm seeing, I'm starting and hearing Jim's story. I honest to God believe that's why nobody's wanting to help him, because they figured if Mr. Chilton and his ranchers get scared enough, they're just going to pack up and leave, and then the government wins. So I don't know.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I know this. It was a good man. Mr. Chilton is a really good.
Very good.
Yeah, he spent his whole day, 84 years old, taking us all across his land to show us all that he's been going through. Showed us video of the cartel coming across his property because he's got cameras out there. This isn't something made up. He's actually got video showing the cartel coming across his property, and with backpacks, and those backpacks wind up past Mr. Chilton's property. My dad's 10 acres. The backpacks are all laying over there, all empty. So it's where they're bringing the in, and I don't know what drugs are in the backpacks because they're not in the backpacks now, but they were drugs that were in it, and then they left the backpacks because they didn't need to carry them with them. So, yep.
Well, sir, I know we've got a engagement with the Tea Party here in Yuma, so we've got to get ready to roll out of here. And I think that starts at 5, right?
We need about 5:30.
Okay, yeah, 5:30, and we'll see maybe about doing a little live feed from there. But other than that, God bless you for all that you're doing. Appreciate you wanting to put your life out there to get to do some good for this country.
Appreciate you.
And
Really.
and I know you're going to be a hell of a fighter in this, and I'll be right beside you every step of the way. So I'm telling y'all, you guys out here in Arizona, this is the man you need to elect for U.S. Congress, and get him in office, guys. He'll fight the fight to no end. He's been through major fights and won. All right, guys. God bless all of you out there. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you being live here in the next hour or so. This is Alexander reporting.